Tensions across the Middle East surged dramatically after explosive claims emerged about one of the largest missile barrages in the ongoing confrontation between Iran and Israel. According to Iranian officials and multiple regional sources, more than 200 missiles were launched toward Tel Aviv in what was described as a massive retaliatory strike following the reported death of Ali Larijani. The scale, intensity, and timing of the attack immediately drew global attention. It raised concerns about a dangerous new phase in the conflict. According to these claims, the barrage was not symbolic. It was a large-scale operation designed to deliver impact across multiple locations at once. More than 200 projectiles were reportedly launched in a coordinated sequence. The goal, according to analysts, would be to overwhelm defensive systems by sheer volume. The event marked a sharp escalation in both scale and intensity. The attack reportedly began with a sudden surge in launch detections across regional monitoring systems. Radar networks identified multiple projectiles rising almost simultaneously. Within moments, early warning systems were activated across Israel. Sirens sounded across Tel Aviv and surrounding areas. Residents moved quickly towards shelters as emergency protocols were put into effect. The speed of the barrage left little time for preparation. Missiles were reported to be launched in rapid succession. This created a continuous flow of incoming threats rather than a single wave. As the projectiles approached Israeli airspace, defensive systems were activated. Interceptors were launched to neutralize the incoming missiles. Observers described flashes in the sky as interception attempts took place. Loud detonations followed as defensive systems engaged. However, the reported volume of incoming projectiles created a challenging environment. Even advanced interception systems can face difficulty when dealing with large numbers of simultaneous targets. According to multiple accounts, not all incoming missiles were intercepted. Some continued toward their intended paths. Shortly after the initial interception attempts, impacts were reported. Witnesses described powerful explosions that shook nearby areas. Buildings were affected. Alarms sounded across multiple districts. In some locations, fires broke out following impacts. The effects were not concentrated in a single area. Instead, multiple parts of the city experienced damage at nearly the same time. This created a complex situation for emergency response teams. Firefighters, medical crews, and security personnel were deployed across different locations simultaneously. Their task was made more difficult by ongoing alerts and the possibility of additional incoming threats. Debris and damaged infrastructure added further challenges. In some areas, response teams worked to contain fires. In others, they assisted people affected by the blasts. The dense urban environment meant that even limited damage could affect surrounding structures. Authorities remained on high alert throughout the event. The psychological impact was immediate. Residents who had taken shelter remained inside as sirens continued intermittently. Uncertainty about whether more waves would follow created ongoing tension. Each new alert reinforced the sense that the situation was still unfolding. According to Iranian officials, the strike was framed as a response to the reported killing of a senior figure. The scale of the barrage was emphasized as a demonstration of capability. At the same time, attention on the ground remained focused on the immediate consequences. Reports indicated structural damage in several areas. Glass facades were shattered, sections of buildings were affected, debris was scattered across streets. Vehicles in impacted areas showed signs of damage from shock waves and falling fragments. In certain locations, fires continued for extended periods. Emergency teams worked to bring those situations under control. The scale of the event created logistical challenges. With multiple impact sites, resources had to be distributed carefully. Authorities prioritized response efforts based on severity and accessibility. Coordination between agencies became essential. At the same time, Officials maintained readiness for potential further developments. From a broader perspective, the reported barrage represents a significant escalation. Large-scale missile attacks targeting major cities combine both physical and psychological impact. The use of a high volume of projectiles suggests an attempt to create widespread disruption rather than focus on a single objective. This kind of escalation can influence how both sides approach the next phase of the conflict. For Israel, it raises questions about defensive capacity and response strategy. For Iran, it represents a demonstration of reach and intent. For the wider region, it adds another layer of uncertainty to an already complex situation. As more details emerge, assessments will continue. Damage evaluations, infrastructure impact, and response effectiveness will provide a clearer picture. But even in the early stages, the scale of the event is evident. The barrage has shifted the dynamics of the conflict. It has introduced a higher level of intensity, and it has raised the stakes significantly. In situations like this, each action can lead to a reaction. This creates a cycle that can be difficult to control. The events in Tel Aviv illustrate how quickly such cycles can escalate. For residents, the experience is immediate. For analysts, the focus is on implications. For governments, the challenge is managing response while avoiding further escalation. Attention is now shifting toward the aftermath. Emergency assessments are underway. Authorities are evaluating structural damage and infrastructure disruption. Efforts are focused on restoring essential services where possible. In large-scale events like this, the impact extends beyond the initial strikes. Roads may be blocked, communication systems may be disrupted, power supply in some areas may be affected. Each of these factors adds complexity to recovery efforts. The focus gradually moves from immediate response to stabilization. At the same time, the psychological effects remain. Even after the explosions stop, uncertainty continues. Residents remain cautious. The experience of sirens and impacts lingers. From a strategic perspective, analysts are examining what this level of escalation means. A barrage of this size suggests both capability and intent. It indicates a willingness to operate at a higher level of intensity. This raises concerns about what could come next. The response to this event will be critical. Decisions made in the aftermath can shape the direction of the conflict. Options range from escalation to de-escalation or maintaining current levels of engagement. Each carries risks. Global attention remains fixed on the situation. Governments and international organizations are monitoring developments closely. Events of this scale can have far-reaching implications. They can influence regional stability and global markets. For now, the priority remains safety, assessment, and readiness. But a larger question continues to grow. What happens next? Because moments like this often become turning points. They redefine expectations, they alter strategies, and they set the stage for what follows. The impact of this barrage will not fade quickly. It will continue to influence decisions and perceptions in the days ahead. And as the situation evolves, the world continues to watch closely. Because in conflicts like this, events of this magnitude are rarely the end of the story. They are often the beginning of what comes next.